Hey Zoomers, welcome back to World Zoom. So happy you could join me again today. Hey, sorry about yesterday's video. It didn't strike a bell really with anyone. I like to try new things periodically, and that one just jumped in my mind just because I was talking with someone that was from the city and talked about the influx of immigrants coming in. But hey, you know, sometimes you swing and miss. I'm doing another one today just along the same lines, and that is, why do Filipinas specifically need to tear down and destroy other Filipinas? Now, this isn't unique to Filipinas. It happens certainly here in the U.S., and you certainly see it in, you know, really every country. But I was just in Planet Fitness, you know, just over here. If you can see it. And there's a group of Filipinas that work out there at the Planet Fitness. I happened to be in the free weight section, and there were two Filipinas that were there. One strikingly pretty, and the other, you know, really, you know, morbidly obese, quite honestly. But they were equally nasty, you know, in the way they spoke, and especially how they talked about, you know, families and friends and other Filipinas. And it just struck me as so odd that culturally there's such a need for the Filipino women to tear down others that are perhaps a bit more fortunate than them, perceived to be a bit more fortunate, or heaven forbid have a foreigner boyfriend or a foreigner husband. It just all of a sudden just strikes the natural jealousy of the Filipinas. And we've laughed and joked about, you know, Filipinas and, you know, their jealousy and tempo and things over the years, but this one came to mind both from this conversation I just heard. It was bad enough that I actually changed stations and went over to the machine weights, because that kind of negativity was just, you know, more than I wanted to hear when I'm just trying to, you know, do some fitness. But I think to just a couple days ago, there was an article in the paper about the main airport there in Manila, NAIA, the international airport. Now, it's had its share of troubles really right from the beginning. But they've had this new thing recently where Filipinas were destroying workers. I mean, people that actually work there were destroying the passports of other Filipino travelers. So a Filipino would come in, the passport would be handed to an actual airport worker. They were defacing it, tearing it, scratching it up, ruining it, and then bringing it to their supervisors in an attempt to have that Filipino that was trying to travel not be able to be allowed to depart, forcing them to go back and get another passport to take their trip, to go elsewhere and travel around the world. Now, why was that going on? It was so bad that the authorities had to come forward and tell all the airport workers, do not touch the Filipinos' passports. You cannot handle them. You cannot touch them. And, you know, when do you ever hear of anything like that? It was primarily Filipinas doing it to other Filipinas. So if you showed up there and you were well dressed or had expensive clothes or expensive handbag, the possibility was that a Filipino was going to ruin your passport. If you showed up and you were with a family and had children and looked well-to-do, the possibility was they were going to scratch up or tear your passport. Or the worst of all, if you came with a foreigner, you were going to travel the world with a foreigner, the jealous airport workers were going to cause you some sort of harm. To the extent that they actually came with a specific law and new rules to stop them, the workers, from handling the passports. Now, what would cause something like that outside of just pure maliciousness and pure jealousy on the part of the Filipinas? And that's not the first time. You can see some of the vloggers that are Filipina in nature and the kind of attacks that they get from fellow Filipinas. Now, some of them, their content is so degrading that, you know, you can expect to have some of that hatred directed their way, because the view is potentially that they're casting Filipinos in a negative light, which, you know, that could be the case in a certain extent. Does it warrant that kind of hatred? You know, I wouldn't think so. You have some vloggers that are so above board. I think of the Filipina P, who would never harm anyone. She only brings people up. And one of my favorite people in the Philippines, Janet, who is the wife of Mike's Philippine Retirement and Mike's Coffee Shop, who's just such a wonderful, unbelievably caring person. Those kind of people don't get the bruising and the punching maybe some of the others do that specialize on foreign relationships or body parts or girls in bikinis or, you know, matchmaking and some of the other things you do in the Philippines. But again, it's not uniquely Filipino that this attacking, you know, is going on. But it is those of us that are around Filipinos quite a bit. It is surprising. Let's say a Filipina brings her new foreign boyfriend to the village or to the city where they're from. And, you know, that, of course, starts the scuttlebutt. And it's around the community, you know, within a couple hours. And heaven forbid if that relationship doesn't work out. And then, you know, a year later, 6 months later, she brings a second boyfriend or fiance or husband back to the village. Well, that's a lifetime label that Filipina is going to get in that area. You know, and you can just see that, and you hate to see the reputations destroyed, you know, just by a few callous and jealous few people. So I would love to know your thoughts. Again, realize that this goes all around the world, and the anonymity of being able to make posts and be able to have multiple names to post comments and post videos and talk maliciously about people has just allowed this to expand exponentially. But I would love to know your thoughts about what makes a Filipino be so catty and so negative and so brutal behind the backs of her friends and family and frankly strangers, because you don't see a Filipina doing that to a male. Really, you very seldom see those kind of videos or that kind of nastiness. It seems to be specially reserved for the middle class and up, or the ones that date foreigners, or the ones that, you know, have something that they could be jealous about. So anyway, just heard that conversation, was thinking about it. Love to hear your take about it. I know I'll get some negative reviews potentially, but it's a generalization, but boy, do I see it. So anyway, from World Zoom, guys, I'll see you in a couple days. Bye-bye.